Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the Dracovin Empire. I hope you're ready to plane shift, gate your way to the world of Golarion, the world setting of the Pathfinder role-playing game set. We're going to be heading to the Mawangi Expanse today, to northern, I'd say western Golarion. Bloodcove is our destination. A wonderful name of a location to go visit. Doesn't that just sound wonderful? Well, if you're ready to come with me to go to Bloodcove, grab my hand, your host and guide here, Cantus Dracovin. Of course, remember to give a little bit of tip and support here by liking, subscribing, and the bell over on the YouTube side of things, just to help as we dive and go through the gateways to Bloodcove. The Mawangi Expanse. And this area of the Expanse, jungly, hot, filled with all kinds of interesting creatures and people. Wonderful place to visit. Now, after our visit here, if you want to do some further research, where might I go? River into Darkness and the campaign setting guides from 1st edition and world setting from 2nd edition. Give a lot of information for Bloodcove. But what is Bloodcove? What is this location? Well, it's a city-state. And that's an easy way of describing it. It is an independent city-state on the coastline, a haven for crime. It's located on the Mawangi River, where it meets the Fever Sea, on the western edge of the Mawangi Expanse. It's only got about shy of 8,000 people. Its government is the Grand Admiral, which is elected for life, but technically it's also got a secret consortium that is under it, but that's an entire thing we're going to get into. Grand Admiral, I'm going to butcher this man's name, Harthwick Barzoni is the current Grand Admiral of the location. It's a very interesting place, to say the least. Known for pirates, merchants, and anyone in between. And pirates were the people that funded it. We'll talk about that. So that blood of the Corsairs, it just flows through Bloodcove. Tiring pirates, so trade is the way. Doesn't mean you might not face thieves or murderers there, but if you're looking for something rare, something illicit, something strange, at the right price, you can find it. Now, we should talk about the area of Bloodcove, because this is one of the more interesting parts about it. It has a very unique appearance. This entire city is built around the roots and trunks of gargantuan mangrove trees that are found along the coast of the Expanse here. The whole city is perched atop boardwalks and scaffolding, and its name comes from the reddish color of the water that pours from the Mawangi River into the Fever Sea here. It kind of looks like blood water, hence Bloodcove. To the south lie the Kava lands, and of course the ex-colonial nation of Vadrian. To the north, you head towards the Shackles, where a lot of the pirates that retire here come from. Which, again, that's filled with a lot of pirates and other various dangerous elements that are there to the north. But yes, there is some beauty to the place here, with the massive trees and the red ocean that kind of is here, with brilliant hues and sunrise and sunset as in the skies with waves. And it is probably one of the more civilized areas in the region. By that I mean it has a lot of trade, places to stay at, supplies you can get. So yeah, that's Bloodcove in a very much nutshell. Now, if we're going to talk about the environment of Bloodcove just a little bit, have you an idea on how it works. You have to think about the seasons, because there is one season technically here, summer. It's warm all year round. Now, technically speaking, there are 2 seasons, but if you would feel the environment there, it's warm all year round. The 2 seasons are the dry season and the wet season. Pretty simple there. The dry season, the sun is clear, the sky is clear, the sun shines brightly, the waters are illuminated with a warm glow. It's during the summer that the dry season is, and yes, it's warm all year round. This is where it can get really intense heat. This is where it can get so warm that in an average day, most people are just not going to be wanting to be out as much, like wear really lightly colored, loose-fitting clothes that reflect sunlight. The wet season, though, the tropical rains fall almost constantly. There's very little sun. The lightest precipitation can prelude to serious storms. Hurricanes, thunderheads, waterspouts occur with an alarming frequency, and the residents are always prepared to build and rebuild any structures that are damaged. And the structures they have are ready to deal with heavy winds and roof designs to carry off water. But the wet season also means goods are more expensive during that time period. Those storms make it more difficult to get things in, so the money can jack up on the price of things. Just saying, it's a good opportunity to get a little extra cash. Now, let's talk about people in charge of the city. No, let's talk about the history. I'm sorry. Let's talk about the origins and history of Bloodcove. It's a pirate city. That's the easiest way to describe it. Basically, there was some pirate captains from the Shackles that were getting too old for the pirating life. They had been some of the lucky few that survived all those years. The pirate's life is oftentimes cut short, especially in the Shackles, where things are very dangerous and deadly. So when one is reaching the end of their life and have managed to survive that long, they have to think about a way to, retire from it. And they saw legitimate trade as the easiest way to keep their coffers full and their lives easy. Basically, they wanted to go into a trade network with things to connect up between the various regions of here. And with their connections with the pirates that are there, being respected elders, they can push some things through without as much worry. And so they founded Bloodcove, miles south, on the more rough and more rough and tumble area of the Shackles. They're basically like, we're going to settle this outside the Shackles region, so we're not really going to get people to come and visit. And yeah, the heritage is pretty obvious here. It's half of a legitimate port of trade and half a sea-soaked pirate city. That's Bloodcove in a nutshell because of that. It's not nearly as dangerous as the pirate cities up in the Shackles, but yeah. But because also it's connected with a lot of trade routes from within the Mawangi expanse, from farther south to their neighbors in the Dream, or things coming from the north through the Shackles. They have a lot of legitimate trade companies putting up connections, which has also helped them grow to be a sizable trade city. Things like the Aspis Consortium, who we'll talk about, is very important. Now, the city did achieve full notoriety in 4696 AR, when the Beast of Bloodcove, a frog-behemoth of immense size, killed 204 victims in an especially hot summer. The beast was eventually killed by a dozen heroes. And 4717, after the people in Sargava overthrew their colonial overlords and formed the new nation of Rodrian, things changed for them. Because they stopped paying protection money for the Pirates of the Shackles, and a bunch of former colonists from Sargava fled to Bloodcove to get a new start because the new government wasn't going to be friendly to them. And now the Pirates of the Shackles are beginning to turn their eyes towards a connection with Bloodcove as an extra way to earn money. We will talk about all this. It's going to be important. There's a lot of important things to talk about here. So, who's in charge? Who are the people leading here? We'll start with our good friend, the Grand Admiral. Because officially, on paper, the title of Grand Admiral, who's currently with Harthwick Barzoni, is officially the person that rules over Bloodcove. It's a position for life, and it's elected amongst the scions of the original pirate founders. So basically, those people that are in the city that are descended from those pirate founders, those retired pirates that founded the city, get to elect this. It does sound like an all-powerful position. It really doesn't do a lot. It's basically make sure that the lawlessness of the town doesn't get in the way of the trade, and it has a small militia under the Grand Admiral that they use. The true nature of this is different. The Aspis Consortium basically controls the city, absolutely. And we're going to talk about them at the end of today's video. It's the last thing we'll talk about. But they are the true shadow government. Now there's another group that's come in here. Free captains. Yeah. with the Drian ending the connections, the racketeering, the basically blackmailing that they had with the free captains. They want some of that wealth. So now we have a three-way pool in Bloodcove. Sort of. Harthwick Barzoni is a figment, at best. The man is basically in the pockets of the Consortium. That's an easy way to say it. He's charismatic. He knows what to say. But he is a dangerous corsair. He is a pirate at heart, too. Comes from pirate stock, so that pirate nature is there. So, yes, he's going to be probably use words first before violence, but it doesn't mean he won't result in violence. But as much as he claims to be elected by those descendants of those scions, really the ones that put him in power were the merchants, and especially the Consortium, working together with other trade groups to basically put him, for his wit, his charismatic nature, in the front. So he has very little power. And the money he gets from the trade groups to form that militia I talked about is where his main power comes from. To fund the militia, the poor militia that keeps very little order in the town, just enough to keep trade flowing and the pirates at bay, are funded only enough by those trade groups to do that. They basically pay a military that on paper is Bloodcove's military when it's really theirs. So yeah. So he's effectively a puppet of the Consortium at this point in time. And now we have the free captains coming in, who is another entire section. The free captains, if you've missed my episode on the Shackles, those are the basically ruling pirates of the Shackles under the Hurricane King, currently Hurricane Queen, may I say. The free captains are these pirate lords. They're powerful. A lot of times over the years, they've sold off their cargo in Bloodcove. This is a normal thing that they've been doing. And a lot of them now, post those first pirates, retire here. This is a retirement place. And that's why we've got this new competition here. The free captains are more unified than the trade commissions, and especially things like even the Aspis Consortium. The Consortium is a trade group, but even then they're not unified. And they have a kinship with themselves that even can go through rivals. You know, you might be my rival, but we're both free captains, that kind of thing. And they make great choices toward great alliances. And yeah, so very quickly, the free captains are gaining a lot of power in Bloodcove. Because another thing is, they trade in the open too. They have active crews, retired captains that are in the town that they can use as connections. They know trade routes. They have ships to supplies. They can easily spread influence. These are pirate captains that know what they're doing. And they're working together to make these inroads. And they're just trading in open in this place and being very open about it. And again, the Hurricane Queen basically has been letting the Pirate Council, the high pirates, the pirate lords, under her make most of the major decisions. She hasn't been pushing herself, which has allowed these free captains and the pirate lords to enjoy the fruits of this and to spread their influence and be happy. So yeah. So there's no hidden figures, there's no secret things, there's no secret government kind of trade group that's putting a guy in place. The free captains are front and center, and they're hanging out with common folk and in the taverns, and it's going to result in something crazy happening. Because they're getting in there, and they're getting in on trade groups, especially the Aspis Consortium's basically monopoly of this place. Getting a big bucket. And they're the new big dogs in town. It's gonna be awful or wonderful. Not sure which. So yeah. That's the three major groups. And again, we'll talk about the Aspis Consortium in a second. But who live here now? Now let's talk about just the general people of this place, because we really should. And the fact is, it's a melting pot. It's a diverse community that's surprising for some place that's really isolated. Basically, non-humans make up more than 50% of its inhabitants. Half the human population comes from Mawangi ethnicity. They are on the Expanse, in the Expanse. And many will come from the Expanse to trade with the outside world. Also, there's just a billion pirates from all over who have come to the Shackles that are now here too. So there are all kinds of ethnicities that make up Bloodcove. Many of them coming to make their fortune. The rich bounties of the Mawangi expanse. There are some tensions between the various ethnicities sometimes within Bloodcove, but these tensions from either traditional ones or, just generally mixed heritages that don't, and ways of life that don't necessarily get along, they don't tend to turn out violent. It's just more like some tensions and like, I don't like you, you don't like me, we disagree on some things, keep ourselves. Basically, as much as it's lawless in Bloodcove, subterfuge and shady dealings are the way to move up in social society. Social mobility is impossible for the poor, and the best way to become a newcomer is to gain standing, is to put morality aside and align with either the Three Captains or the Aspis Consortium. So if you show up, align yourself with one of those two groups, you're going to gain some money, or basically coming in there with money is a great way to buy yourself up. So this makes trade the lifeblood of this place. It wouldn't exist without it. There's a great vast wealth in the Mawangi expanse, and it's positioned to basically, on this river valley, of the River Vanji, to bring things down from the Mawangi expanse into the fevered sea. It was a great trace to kind of connect up with the north and south too. So there's just this influx of material, and granted, yes, the disconnection from Virginia to the south is heavy, but we still have stuff coming down through there, coming into the expanse, coming out of the expanse. It's still a huge trade hub, and that is very important to its continued existence. If we talk about some culture of the people here, it's a melting pot again. But there are a lot of things that are important. There's a lot of herbs and spices brought in from merchants and sailors. Seafood is a big part of their cuisine. Oftentimes, the first meal of the day tends to be more fish-based, with a little bit more breads and land-based things, fruits and vegetables kind of in the middle of the meal, and then something that's been simmering all day from some kind of like tough meat, whether it's a game animal or like something like a giant eel, that you kind of get a lot more of those rich flavors to eat. There are a few holidays. Admiral's Advent, which is on the first day of summer, that celebrates the life and health of the Grand Admiral Harthwick, which citizens use as an excuse to bake special treats, party the streets, that kind of thing. Play music, string instruments, flutes, trumpets, and also Tempest Day, the day before spring, which celebrates the calm before the storms as the last day of the dry season, usually invokes numerous toasts and cheers to the success of past season, and prayers to gods for safe travel during the wet season. Religions, of course, diverse, to say there too, but worshipping of gods of the sea, trade, secrets, Besmara and Norgriber are pretty big, but Gozera, Heifang are also pretty big there too. Abadar's bankers are pretty good money handlers and are there, but again, there are some less savory members of the faith that they could take advantage of you. But the city doesn't have any large temples or shrines, so it's got some small things there. But yeah. The people themselves, they wear robes or other clothing of linen and satin. It provides flow rather than heavy layers. It's a warmer climate. You need some light and breathable. Long gloves, fluid jackets, smooth vests, leather straps for function, scarves around their head and necks. They're commonly worn in reds, browns, and greens. And there's a lot of jewelry, wealth that don't come in here. So, common folk and traders, even those with higher stats than local pirates, rarely flaunt valuables. So that's an important thing. Because the money holds greater value when it's not on display. Money's important, status important, don't show it off. That's an important part about their culture. And, yeah. The place is mostly stable. You might hear about stories of the, violence in the streets, but it's not true. Not the same way as it. Now let's talk about the Aspis Consortium. Just a little. I'm not going to dive too deep into the Aspis Consortium because they are a group that's a large one across Golarion. Maybe in the future when I want to talk about various groups that we can learn about, I can talk about things like this. which is actually something I didn't think about doing. Oops, Aspis Consortium. We'll talk about it a little bit more there. But we can kind of establish some basic information on the Aspis Consortium so you kind of understand who they are and why they are very powerful. So, they are a group which was founded about 200 years ago by 3 financiers, a Schlaxian philanthropist, that included Schlaxian philanthropist of very big renown. And basically they came together to form a business thing that is... It's basically unscrupulous multinational trade organization. And it's based in Ostino, Cheliax, and has interest across Golarion. So, though I probably won't mention it a lot of times, the Aspis Consortium is connected to a lot of regions and has interests there, and they aren't against getting their hands dirty to get what they want, and it's all about the money. It's not about having the power, the power might do about this, but it's basically about what kind of things can I acquire from this region to exploit the region and gain more wealth, as our group of trade people. That's the Aspis Consortium in a nutshell. So now you have an idea of who they are. So, they are deep in Bloodcove's foundation. Basically, when Bloodcove was coming up, they saw an opportunity, got in there, and invested heavily in making sure to control it and have that. So, in the past, it controlled all the trade pretty much. It's had a number of setbacks due to clashes with the Pathfinder Society, the influx of pirates, and have lost ground. So now, they basically had full control, almost, with a couple of rival trade houses there that probably are giving them some money, basically paying to be there, basically paying a tax almost, to kind of think about, like, we're allowing you to do trade here because, we can then also gain some extra money and less worth. But now, they've lost their foothold. Aspis follows the coin, they don't call law. So that's an important part about them. Yeah. They don't swear allegiance to governments, kingdoms, or nations. They'll ally themselves with whatever earn them the most worth. And these can be merchants and mercenaries, depending on what kind of agents they have as part of it. And the members are cutthroat. And they can be cutthroat to each other. So, yeah. A member of the consortium has only allegiance to themselves. And they have no respect. Again, that's another reason why the free captains are providing such a fight. Those are united. The consortium is not. And that's where the other end of our battleground is. Because the Aspis Consortium, I did want to talk about them a little bit. Maybe do a full video on them in the future. But they are a unique group that is beyond Bloodcove. But is also deeply tied to Bloodcove. And that's why I wanted to. But yeah, there we go. There's Bloodcove. It's a very interesting location. A city-state founded by pirates and a unscrupulous trade group that is now changing in a way that's going to just be fun. Will it be good? Will it be bad? I mean, it's always been under the Aspis Consortium's thumb for the entire time, just squishing down on them. But now that the free captains are actually involved there, with Madrian being disconnected from them, well, I don't know how it's going to go. I get the feeling the free captains are going to win. It's one of those things, is the Pirates of the Shackle have proven themselves to be able to unify against the threat when a threat comes. When a problem arrives, they are ready to throw down their lives together. Because if not, they will lose their freedoms. And they understand as long as they are brothers in arms, have a code of honor, they'll do that. Aspis Consortium doesn't have it. And so I think that's why they might lose in the battle of this. Will they go away from Bloodcove? I don't think so. But I think they're going to lose their true control over it. I think we'll see maybe a change in the Grand Admiral at some point in time. But the exact direction that Bloodcove will head, I'm not sure. But it honestly opens up for a lot of really interesting stories. A battle between two groups, a puppet in the middle, and certainly lots of adventure that you have there. A start of adventure into the Mawangi Expanse, an adventure specifically in Bloodcove. There's so much openings in this Mangrove city that are very interesting. This almost floating city in amongst the mangrove trees at the entrance to this river. with massive ports, massive trade, and for such cities such as Aside, mass amounts of wealth. That's Bloodcove. A really fun place to check out, and I hope you enjoyed learning. Alright, that'll be it for today, for that video. I hope you enjoyed diving into Golarion once more and joining me learning about Bloodcove. Bloodcove is a fun one. I did really enjoy talking about it and learning more about it. I think I used it a little bit in my Buccaneers of the Shackled Sea adventure, but not in a way that I feel like was really necessary. It was just a part of some kind of storyline visiting, and it didn't dive as deep as I might have wanted it to. You know, it's sort of like the city itself is so interesting and so unique. I didn't have an opportunity to give it this time of day, and I really love to revisit it and do this thing. And so I hope I've inspired you to do it. If you want to check out more of my things, I do have a schedule that goes up. It's up on my social medias, on my Discord, my Blue Sky, my X/Twitter, and over on my community page of my YouTube. It goes up usually on Mondays. It tells you when I'm streaming over on Twitch. That's my basically times of doing gaming or other tabletop-related content / recording content. Also tells you when things are uploaded over to YouTube, what videos on what day. Again, those are pretty exact. The YouTube side's a lot more exact than Twitch, just because it's a lot easier, and only unless there's a video problem will there be a delay on the YouTube side of things. Do remember to do as I said at the beginning to help support the channel, like subscribing the bell. That just does little things. And what do people think about Bloodcove? Have you done an adventure there, or are you inspired now to do an adventure there? I'm just curious what people think with it. I don't even know if Froghemoth is actually a thing anymore. That might be a legacy monster. I'm just curious if it is. It would be some kind of different beast now. I'm just, thinking of the history side of things and the fact that Bloodcove's attacked by one of these things. But, yeah. I am curious if it's been replaced by something. Yeah. Just curious. Anything else that's on the agenda? I think that's it then. Alright, everybody, I'm going. I'm going to hang out with Twitch chat. Maybe we'll chat a little bit more. Maybe I'll do another video. But anyway, I do hope you enjoyed diving into it. Learning all about this. And until the next time we chat, go over anything or anything like this, I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell.